Oh, it's okay. There is a kind of rearrangement. It's okay. He will still get time. So now I call upon Mr. Mbara Cham. Mbara Cham, please. He will be talking about first report on the occurrence of microplastic contamination in mariculture. Ichema Kotuni from Langkang Island, which is from Jakarta, Indonesia. Are you from Indonesia, my friend?
I'm from Gambia.
You are from Gambia.
The research was conducted in
But the work was conducted in Indonesia. So it's the Gambia-Indonesia kind of work. Thank you very much. You have 15 minutes, and when you see the red card, you do your best to leave the stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and my fellow delegates. Standing before you today is Mbara Cham, a young Gambian who was doing his master's at the University of Indonesia on marine science, with a special focus on microplastic pollution. Today we are going to discuss our research that I have conducted in Indonesia in an island called Kepulauan Seribu. It is an Indonesian word. Pulau means island and Seribu means 1,000. Yeah. So Kepulauan Seribu means 1,000 island. In Indonesia, there is a place in Jakarta. It has so many islands, about 1,000 islands. So we selected one of the islands called Langkang Island to conduct this research, because research has shown that Indonesia is the second largest country in the world that produces the most plastic pollution. So it deems it necessary as a marine scientist and also someone who is very much persuaded in microplastic to conduct such a research and see what is the extent of the microplastic pollution within Indonesian marine ecology. So first, this is the outline of the presentation, and then we move on to the next one. We said our marine species is called seaweed. Okay, our marine species, we're gonna discuss about microplastics in seaweed. I know people from Tanzania, people from Ghana and other countries, Cameroon, might know seaweed, but Gambia, this is new to us, because the first thing that I learned in Indonesia was seaweed, because in Gambia we are not fond of growing seaweed. We focus more on groundnut, coos, millet, maize, and the like. So this has become a new thing to me. We said seaweeds are macroalgae that grows in marine ecosystem. Okay, they are macroalgae that grows in marine ecosystem. And as far as the blue economy resources are concerned, we cannot talk about the resources without talking about seaweed, because it has yielded a lot of benefits as far as biodiversity is concerned. So we have a species of seaweed called the Euphorma cotoni. It is one of the most grown seaweed species in the Asian region, especially in Southeast Asia, in which Indonesia has become the leading exporter of this seaweed, followed by China and the like. So it means there are a lot of farmers in Indonesia who depends on the growing of seaweed for their survival, and also for their feeding, and also as a source of employment. So here in the picture you can see this is a green seaweed. It is the seaweed that I use to analyze the presence of the microplastic in this species. Okay, so okay, the next one is seaweed is grown in two different phases. In Jakarta or in Indonesia, farmers grow seaweed using two different methods. One of them is by using the floating technique, and the other one is by using the bottom technique. But here, if you are not fond of water, you cannot grow seaweed, because it will be difficult for you to swim down inside the river to grow seaweed. It is mostly applicable when you are a little bit experienced and professional in diving, then you can be able to do the bottom technique. So our research was conducted using the floating technique because we believe that the microplastic here, most of them float on the bottom of the water in the survey area that we conducted. So we decided to use the floating technique to conduct this research. It means we use the seaweed that grows on the surface of the water. Okay? So as far as seaweed is concerned, there are a lot of benefits that we can get from growing this macroalgae. Okay? It serves as a source of food for us. In Indonesia, most of our foods that we are eating, almost I can say 75% of them contain seaweed. Okay? So it means it serves as a very good percentage of the food that people eat in Indonesia. Also, not only in Indonesia, but also in other Asian countries. It also serves as a source of animal feed. Some of their animals depends on the dry seaweed for feeding. So it means it is not only for humans, but it is also for their animals. Seaweed is also good for human health. There are so many nutrients contained in this macroalgae that you can utilize to build up your body and then for survival. You can also use seaweed for fertilizer. We use the refined seaweed for what we call top dressing in agriculture. You can use it to make fertilizer because it contains macro and micro elements. Nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus are all in seaweed, and it is good for you to refine them, grind them into powder, and then you can use it as a top dresser on the soil to give you more nutrients. Also, when I visited Kepulauan Seribu in Thousand Island, I realized that most of the farmers there focuses on seaweed cultivation because they are the local people who live in the island. The two main activities that they do is fishing, and the other one is seaweed cultivation. So those who cannot do, who are not good in fishing, mostly focuses on seaweed cultivation because they see that it is easier and it also generates more money, and a lot of people are also engaging into it. So it serves as a source of employment to them. I conducted the research while I went around to different islands, in Pramuka Island, Lankan, in other islands where I talked to farmers about the seaweed cultivation, and they also told me that they are very much happier in cultivating seaweed than growing other crops like cassava, even though they have other options to grow cassava and the like. Okay, so it serves as an employment opportunity to many people, not only in Indonesia but also in Africa, and also in Asia as well as in Africa too. Because I was reading one research paper also was from Tanzania. Okay, so Tanzania also they grow seaweed as well as in Ghana and also in Nigeria. Okay, so it's not only in Asia but also in other parts of Africa also they grow seaweed very well. Okay, so this is the sample collection because we grow seaweed in the marine ecology. So it is one of the blue economy resources that we utilize. So therefore, in conducting this research, we need to go to the sea to collect this seaweed because it is grown on the surface of the water, not so close to avoid the fish scrapers from taking it away or eating them. So we go at least maybe 200 meters into the sea to collect this seaweed. Okay, so the map there is the Lankan Island, is the place in Kepulauan Seribu where we conducted the research. When we talk about seaweed, we move down to microplastic. It is an emerging challenge globally, not only in Asia, but also in Africa as well. Plastic pollution is taking away our marine ecology. And as far as blue economy resources are concerned, when we talk about the resources, we have to talk about the threats. And microplastic is one of the threats that is encountering our marine species, especially the seaweed, the fish, the phytons, and other marine species that are living within the ecosystem. So therefore, this is a topic that is worth discussing. I know the time is limited, but I would have requested 2 hours to discuss about microplastic. But I will just use these 15 minutes for us to discuss about the effects that microplastics can cause in the marine ecology, which serve as a threat to our blue economy resources. Now, microplastics are small particles of plastics less than 5 millimeter. When bottles, when plastic cosmetics break down, they produce smaller particles, and those particles are what we call microplastics. They are very small, we cannot see them, but they are very, very toxic, and they are very, very dangerous to our health and also to our marine species. They are insoluble in water, they are non-biodegradable, and also they are very, very dangerous as far as marine species are concerned. You can see them, those are the pictures. When we conducted the research, we find out there are different colors detected under the microscope, which signifies the presence of microplastics in the species of the seaweed that we use for our research. Sources of microplastic in the marine ecology. Now, most of the presence of the microplastic in the marine ecology comes from anthropogenic activities. Anthropogenic activities are human interventions. This plastic pollution enters into the ocean, destroys the blue economy resources as a result of the anthropogenic activities. The activities that we are doing, we are the cause of the pollutions that is happening in the oceans, which is detrimental to our marine species. Okay, Dr. Ismail yesterday made mention a very good point where he said in 2050, Africa will need 29 million tons of fish to be able to feed itself. But today, I am also humbly telling him that Ellen Mark Otto, in his report in 2016, said by 2050, the amount of plastic in the ocean will be more than the amount of fish. So if such a things happen, how is Africa expected to feed itself? It's going to be very difficult. When we talk about the possibilities, we have to also talk about the threats and how to build sustainable mitigations to make sure that if these things happen, we can have a way out. So researchers also have shown that by 2050, 70% of our ocean will be covered with plastics. If this thing happens now, it means our biodiversity is sentenced to threat. The blue economy resources will be in great danger. It's not only about the seaweed, it's not only about the fish, but we, the humans, we will also be in a very bad situation, because it affects the food chain, which may end in affecting our health. So microplastics entered into the ocean in different ways. Some of them come from the atmospheric deposition. Okay, some of them come from anthropogenic activities, like what I was saying, by humans. People normally living around the coastal areas dumped their waste along the river banks, which ended up encroaching or enrolling into the ocean. And most of this waste has plastics in them. And when they spend long time in the water, they break down to form these small plastics, microplastics, which have been absorbed by the fish, by the seaweed, or by other marine species. And if they are consumed, it goes direct into the food chain, which later end up in affecting the humans. Okay, so the next thing is the pathways. Okay, the pathways. How does microplastic or plastic pollution enter into the ocean? One is runoff. Yeah, by runoff, when there is heavy rain, the plastics are all gathered in one place, and then it is covered in a form of sheet, and it dumps into the ocean or into the water bodies, which extended into the ocean. And these things are all, when these things are all accumulated into the ocean, it means a pile of plastic will be built up. And this causes a threat to our marine biodiversity, which affects a lot of species. Waste disposal. During my research in Indonesia, or in Kepulauan Seribu, one of the things that I realized was that the local people channel out their waste through the mangroves. It means most of the people living around the mangroves, they created a channel. From their houses, it goes direct into the roots of the mangroves. It means when they take shower, instead of the water, instead of like the disposals going into the reservoir or like a tank, okay, or a suckaway, no, they channel it direct into the mangroves, and this contributes a lot of microplastic, a lot of plastic and microplastics. So therefore, one of the things that is one of the things that I have realized when I was conducting the survey and also during the process of the research. Okay, fishing activities. Countries which depends on fishing, especially Gambia. We have other countries in Ghana and other countries that focuses on fishing, also contributes a lot in plastic disposal, because most of their fishing gears are in a form of plastic and they are non-biodegradable materials. And when these things end up into the ocean, it piles up and increases the plastic pollutions into the ocean. Tourism is also one of the reasons which serve as a pathway for plastic. When tourism visits, a lot of waste are being produced, and if these waste are not being taken care of, some of them end up into the oceans. These drinking bottles that we are drinking every day, in most countries they are recycled, but in some countries they are not. If you walk into the streets, you see them. Okay, so they end up being in the streets and the like. So therefore, it's very difficult. So the other one is aquaculture. Okay, aquaculture practices also increases the amount of plastic which later end into the ocean, and also wastewater treatments. So therefore, it is very, very good for us to focus on trying to conserve our environment by controlling the amount of plastics that we produce. Laboratory analysis, this is the test that we conducted, because we cannot analyze microplastic without having some laboratory works to determine whether this is a microplastic, the nature of the microplastic, and how does it looks like. Okay, so this was during the lab, and this was what we detected in seaweed. Okay, so it means if you have been consuming a lot of seaweed in an area, in a country where there are a lot of plastic pollution, it means you have been taking a lot of microplastic. So this picture here is what we detected under the microscope when we conducted the laboratory experiment on the E. cotoni, okay, species of seaweed. So it means eating this every day or taking this into your system every day for like 5 years, it means something can occur which can be detrimental to your health. So therefore, we need to be protective. We need to be very much concerned with our health by discouraging the dumping of or irresponsible dumping of these plastics. Okay, so the next thing is the impacts of the plastic pollution in the blue economy on fisheries and on our aquaculture. It causes a lot of fish lives. Microplastics has killed a lot of our fish in the ocean. Know it or not, it is killing a lot of fish day by day. So therefore, we must discourage the pollution, so be able to maintain, be able to make sure that our marine species survive to feed all of us. Human health, microplastic is very detrimental. It causes heart disease. It causes cancer. Okay, it causes respiratory disorders. There are a lot of consequences that microplastics has on our body. So it means we have to be very attentive on how to use these plastics. On tourism and also coastal economics, a dirty environment will not attract tourists. Tourists visit places that are neat, that are clean. But when the environment is being polluted, they will not come. So therefore, we need a clean environment for them to be able to come here. When the environment is polluted, they will not. Okay, it threatens our marine biodiversity. It kills a lot of our marine species. Okay, water quality also. Because in Indonesia, during my 2 years in Indonesia, we never drank the water from the tap because it is not safe. It is not hygienic. So therefore, we are afraid that it might be contaminated with microplastics. So therefore, we are buying mineral water than drinking from the tap. So therefore, it's not safe. Microplastic affects the water quality. So in every presentation, in this presentation, we will suggest recommendation. But this recommendation on the side of microplastic will be different because this is just a general one. But when you conduct the survey, you know that this is the things happening in the ground. Then there you can prescribe the recommendation that suits the environment that you're conducting the survey. But these are the general recommendations using landfills to discourage people from polluting our environment. We need to engage in landfills, recycling, renew, and reuse. It comes to term with the circular economy, where we reuse things. Okay, public awareness. This is the thing we are doing. We educate people about the impacts that microplastics has on our body, on our system, not only on the marine species or on the blue economy resources, but on the environment and also to us, the humans as well. Circular economy, as I mentioned, and also stakeholder collaboration. We need to collaborate as a government. We need to collaborate as institutions. We need to collaborate as schools to fight against this menace that is happening. And also, we need to find solutions, sustainable mitigation that can end these things. Because who knows, the next victim might be you or might be me. So let's protect one another and then discourage the polluted environment and also save the planet from being destructed. So on that note, I thank you all for your kind attention.
That was not enough for him, please. Can you do it better than that? Still on the question of food safety. Thank you very much, my friend over there. And now coming to Dr.